Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Box Office Talk. This is the show where I break down what happened at the box office, see if my predictions for the top 5 are correct, then make predictions for next week's top 5. So let's get right on into it. Last week, I predicted that number 1 would be Knock at the Cabin, number 2 would be 80 for Brady, number 3 would be Avatar: The Way of Water, number 4 would be Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and number 5 would be A Man Called Otto, and I got 4 out of 5 of my predictions right for this week, and I was so close to a perfect 5. So many of you were so close to a perfect 5, but something just came out of nowhere. Not even like, because, there is a Fathom event being promoted for The Chosen season 3 finale, and, after what happened last time with The Chosen, it was like, what that came out of nowhere and ruined everything. It wasn't even that one. It's in this list of top 10, but something else snuck its way into number 5 above A Man Called Otto that totally ruined my chances of getting a perfect 5 out of 5. So let's go over what happened overall at the box office. Number 1 was, of course, Knock at the Cabin. I knew it would get number 1 because it's a new horror thriller film. It's got Dave Bautista in it, and it's from M. Night Shyamalan. And, whether you love him, whether you hate him, whether you think he's okay, he usually does bring in an audience. So, of course, that audience got him to the number 1 spot, knocking Avatar: The Way of Water out of number 1 after 7 weeks of being there. It is also, this technically makes it the first 2023 film to actually make it into the number 1 spot. For the longest time, it's just been Avatar, which obviously December 2022. But the thing is that I'm actually a little surprised that it didn't get a little bit higher. Now, it's actually, for a budget of $20 million, it opened with $14 million, and worldwide it already has garnered a total of $21 million, so it's not a bad opening at all. I can see them doubling this budget next weekend. Maybe, worst case scenario, the weekend after that, but, it's doing pretty solidly. But this is M. Night Shyamalan's second lowest opening weekend, just ahead of his film Wide Awake, which obviously you've probably never heard of. That's because it's not his first film, but it's his one right before Sixth Sense. So Wide Awake only made like a couple 100,000 in its overall box office run. I have not seen it. Many of you have obviously not seen it, but that is technically an M. Night Shyamalan film. So as far as opening weekends go, this movie had one higher than that, obviously. So it's not the lowest, but it's the second lowest, It needs 28 million until it outgrosses Lady in the Water. I think we will be seeing that happen at least. And worldwide, mentioning it made 21 million, it needs 51 million until it outgrosses Lady in the Water. So I think it will be able to at least outgross M. Night's next lowest grossing film besides Wide Awake. But, I definitely was expecting just a little bit more, of a boost here. I feel like, this is a pretty good budget for a movie like this, and horror thrillers are definitely like in as far as like what makes the most money. Well, it looks like it's horrors. We just had Mithrigan, you know what I mean? And Missing is doing okay. We'll talk about that in a second. So I was kind of expecting maybe just a little bit more, but because I was thinking back to like what had people talking about M. Night's, some of M. Night's other films, like, well, The Visit, it's M. Night, but it's a found footage movie where the grandparents are, playing freaks in the trailer, and it's like, what's up with this? With Split, it's, Professor X has multiple personality disorder, but with a unbreakable superhero twist, and then Glass is the sequel to that, and Old is the beach that makes you old, so I think maybe all of those, at least the recent Shyamalans, just have a bit more of like a hook in the marketing as opposed to this, which is just some people break into a cabin and they're holding some people hostage, asking them to sacrifice one of themselves. So maybe that's the thing, is that as far as like premises go, as far as M. Night movies go, it doesn't seem as like out there as some of his other ones. I'm not really sure what it is, but either way, it did okay this weekend. So I'm not trying to diminish its, successful victory at the number 1 spot. I'm just saying I was a little, surprised to see it this low. Number 2, we have 80 for Brady on a budget of $28 million, which I cannot even believe that movie cost that much. That's obviously all going to the actors, probably. It made $12 million this weekend. We do not have a worldwide total as of right now. I'm wondering, since, Super Bowl is just around the corner, I am wondering if this movie will get a little bit of a boost because, football. I don't know if, like, Tom Brady's recent retirement announcement actually helped this movie at all, you know what I mean? Like, maybe some people are like, oh, it's a Tom Brady movie, he's just announced his retirement, maybe I'll go check it out. Tom Brady's famous anyway, so obviously he's going to have some fans of his go out to see it. or it's like, oh, he just retired, why would I go see this fucking, movie kind of about him, or like the main character's motivation is to see him, I don't know. I don't know. Either way, I'm glad that I got this prediction right, that it got into the number 2 spot. I was wondering for pure meme's sake if it could, actually beat out Avatar, and it did. So let's move on to number 3, which is Avatar: The Way of Water. Still killing it in every single way, though. Making $10 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $636 million. So it's $23 million behind Titanic as of right now. It's $149 million behind the original film domestically. It still needs $82 million until it outgrosses Top Gun Maverick. Not sure if that's going to work out because, we have next weekend, but then the weekend after is Ant-Man time, and that's, because of the promise of phase, 5 and, anything else coming up with the MCU with Kang, he's the new overarching villain. I'm sure that's going to dominate for a while, and Avatar probably won't have as much of a hold as it currently has been having. I don't know, but we'll see if it can outgross Top Gun Maverick still as far as the 2022 releases. For the all-time domestic runs, though, it has outgrossed the first Avengers film by 13 million, and now it just needs 16 million to outgross Jurassic World. So I think maybe, considering how it's holding right now, we might be able to see that happen when Ant-Man comes out. So, that kind of checks out. Worldwide, it is now sitting at $2,174 million. It still needs $725 million until it outgrosses the original, but for Titanic, it is so close, just $33 million. So I think, Titanic domestically might take just a little bit more time, but worldwide, I feel like we'll be seeing this happen in no time. And at that point, it will reach the number 3 highest grossing worldwide runs of all time, top 3, and that will be exciting to see, to say the least. Let's move on to number 4, which is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. This movie also had some exciting domestic release news, making $7 million, adding to a domestic total of $151 million. It has outgrossed Kung Fu Panda 3 by $8 million, Megamind by $3 million, and Puss in Boots, the first one, by $2 million. So domestically, it has finally outgrossed the first Puss in Boots film. Worldwide, it still has $204 million to go. I'm not sure if it has any other places to be released worldwide that could potentially boost this number up, so it might just be domestically it outgrosses the first movie, but hey, either way, that's gotta be a victory out there, And now it's only $2 million behind Trolls, the first movie, as far as outgrossing that in the DreamWorks ranks. Worldwide, it is now sitting at $350 million, by the way. It has outgrossed Trolls there by $7 million and Over the Hedge by the same number, and it is now behind Penguins of Madagascar by $16 million. So there you go. This movie continues to do well, just like Avatar is, and just like Knock at the Cabin did. But let's move on to number 5, which, if my predictions were a 5 out of 5, would be A Man Called Otto, but it's not. It's BTS Yet to Come in cinemas. The concert film. A concert film made it here. Very shocking. I didn't even know this was coming. Of all the Fathom events, I thought I just had to worry about The Chosen. Not even that. It made $6 million, adding to a domestic total of $9 million. Not sure what the budget was for this thing, but cool. I'm sure fans out there really loved seeing this in theaters. That's all I have to add. Let's move on to number 6, which is A Man Called Otto, making $4 million, adding to a domestic total of $53 million. It is $2 million over Mark Forrester's film Finding Neverland, and now is behind his film Christopher Robin by $46 million. I'm not sure if it's going to have the great hold to get to that point, but hey, it's outgrown some of his other films in his wild-ass filmography, so, this is still pretty cool to say the least. Worldwide, it is sitting at $83 million, so $17 million away from doubling its $50 million budget. I think give it a couple weeks, we'll see it slowly kind of get over to that point. But as far as like, counting this as like a big success, like barely doubling your budget is, fine, but it's not great. I'm glad that some audience members out there were able to go out and see it and, implored some other people to go see it as well. I think maybe the biggest thing was that the budget might have been for, and this is crazy to say because 50 million isn't even that high, considering how big some of these budgets go, but maybe that could have been lowered just a bit, and then you would like if this was like a $30 million budget movie, you would be $7 million away from tripling it, and that's way better than you're still not at the what we consider here on this show the break-even point of doubling that 50 million. So a bit of a bummer to say the least, but it did better than I thought it would. It outgrossed Mark Forrester's film The Kite Runner by $9 million and is now behind Finding Neverland by $32 million. So there is that. Moving on to number 7, which is Mothregan, making $3.8 million, adding to a domestic total of $87 million. This now outgrosses for Blumhouse Insidious 2 by $4 million and Paranormal Activity 2 by $3 million. It is now behind The Black Phone by $3 million. For Atomic Monster, it has outgrossed the first Annabelle by $3 million and is now $15 million away from outgrossing The Conjuring 2. Worldwide, it is sitting at $154 million, which for Blumhouse still is sitting behind The Black Phone and Insidious 2 by $7 million. But I'm sure we will be seeing that happen next weekend. This kind of feeds into a larger point I'll be getting to in just one moment. But for Atomic Monster, it has outgrossed Lights Out by $6 million, and The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It, Made You Do It, whatever the title was. I think it's Made Me Do It. Sorry, by $46 million. It still needs $46 million to get to that point. And I think the thing about Mothregan is that this movie came out like about a month ago now. And for some reason it is already out on like VOD on digital. Like it didn't just come out on VOD and digital. It came out like a week or maybe 2 ago. And for some reason, even though this movie was doing really well initially, and it, even held over really well in its second weekend, now it's dropped a little lower than I thought it would. The fact that BTS was able to beat them out and A Man Called Otto was able to now sneak above it, I feel like that probably shouldn't be happening for a movie that had such high critical acclaim when it came out, high meme status as far as like online people go. I think it just kind of goes to show, like, and obviously it's made its money, like, compare that $12 million budget to that $154 million total worldwide. It's obviously made its money, but I feel like if you didn't put it on, I think the biggest thing here is that if you didn't put it on VOD right away, you would still be racking in some serious money, some serious holdover, because this movie is that popular, but as soon as you put it on VOD, it's like, well, why would I need to go to the theater? That's all. Number 8, we have Missing, making $3.7 million, adding to a domestic total of $23 million. It has tripled its $7 million budget, and now it needs $5 million to quadruple it, and also it is $3 million away from outgrossing the first film. So there you go. Another great low-budget success for the horror thriller genre. I don't really have much more to add to this, so let's move on to number 9, which is The Chosen Season 3 finale. Since I dared to question, what the fuck is The Chosen and why is it this popular in the first video I made about it for Box Office Talk, I won't dwell on this one for so long, I guess. But it made $3.6 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $5.3 million. So there you go. And finally closing out the video, number 10, Pathan, a holdover from last weekend, making $2 million, adding to a domestic total of $14 million. Worldwide, it is now sitting at $24 million. So there you go. I still don't know if you can consider this a success, considering the budget is 225 crore, and I am a dumb man who can't simply Google like a crore to US dollar currency on Google. I could. I'm right here in front of my computer. I could do it, but I'm just that lazy. This show is that amateurish. You got me. Now it's time for the fun part, the predictions for next week's top 5. Number 1, I'm going with Magic Mike's Last Dance. Number 2, Knock at the Cabin. Number 3, 80 for Brady. Number 4, Avatar The Way of Water. And number 5, Puss in Boots The Last Wish. But what are your predictions for next week's top 5? Leave them in the comments below. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.